Hello, fellow traders, and welcome to the Advanced Dashboard Masterclass series. This video, we're going to be covering options. We'll be looking at a few different things on the platform to help you trade options better. We'll be looking at how to configure your workspace for options. We'll be looking at how to do analytics when you're trading options. And then, of course, the best part, we'll show you how you can execute various strategies on the platform. So with that, let's go ahead and get started. We're going to start with configuring the workspace to suit our options trading. So to start with, I'm going to go at the navigation pane over here. We're going to click on this addition sign, and that's going to open up a new workspace selection. Within here, I can choose a number of the different layouts. Today, I'm going to go ahead and choose Flex Sheet, and you can see there's a number of grids that are going to be presented to you. We're going to just select a 2-column grid layout, and I'm going to call this Options Trading. Now, of course, traders, you can add as many different grids or quadrants as you want as part of your look, depending on what features you're going to add. So let's go ahead and click on Add Layout. Now, what you'll notice is we've got our new workspace labeled here at the top, and we've now got to add in the widgets that we want to have as part of this options trading view. Now, you'll notice that because I chose the Flex Sheet, that typically we would have the categories listed up here for selecting our widgets, but at the moment, they're grayed out because under the Flex Sheet layout, you do have to select them within the quadrant itself. So let's go ahead and select, and by clicking this plus sign, and you can see those categories here, we're going to head over to our trading section. And the first thing we're going to do, of course, naturally, is add the options chain. So let's click on that. Next, what we're going to do beside it, for my personal trading, and maybe traders as well, I like to have the chart as well next to the options chain. So let's go ahead and find the chart under the trading. Again, it's the first one up there. And now we've got them sort of side by side here. One more thing that I want to do and show everyone is there is a widget bar that you can also expand and collapse. So you can notice up at the corner in the top right over here, we have this arrow. So I can click on this and you'll see it opens up this bar. Now this is handy because I usually also like to have my watch list, but I don't want to always have it in view. And that's why I prefer to have it in this widget bar. Let's click on Add Widgets and you can see the choices that are available to us, and we'll select watch list over here. And we've got one of our watch lists sample list that we built queued up here. Now, keep in mind, if this does take up space, of course, you do have the ability to just hide it away at any time just by clicking this. We're going to leave it open for a moment. The next thing that I want to do to just get the space set up is I want the widgets to be synced up with each other using the channel configuration setting. So to begin with, what I'm going to do is I'm going to head over to my watch list over here, and where these rectangular bars are, that's where the channel configuration settings are. So what I want to do is select one of these channels that are available to me, and I'm going to choose the send because I want to be able to transmit information from my watch list to the other widgets that we have on the screen. So let's pick channel 2, and we'll select this box over here, and you can see it's labeled. We're going to now go over to our chart, and in the same area, we're going to head over to the channel configuration, and in this case, I want to sync it up to the same channel, but I want it to be set to receive on the chart here. And then we're going to do this one more time on the option chain. But in the option chain, what I'm going to do is I'm going to select both send and receive because I do want the option chain to load up when I do click the chart, but I also want to be able to click within the option chain and have it load up into the chart as well if I'm looking at a specific option. And I'll tell you more about that in just a moment. So now we've got some of our basic settings and layout set up here. What we're now going to do is load up a specific ticker to delve further into it and look at the analytics. So from my watch list, I'm going to pick one of the tech companies that I have listed over here. So let's go ahead and load up Apple. And you can see when I click Apple, you'll notice what it does is it will load up also automatically in the charts for me now without having me to type in the symbol box, as well as it's loaded up in the option chain. Now for the time being, we're going to go ahead and just hide away the widget bar over here. So we don't need this at the moment. We've got all the information that we need on screen that we need to look at. So my first area of focus is I want to take everyone through the options chain, learning how to configure that and adjust some of the settings that we have. Now, first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to maximize the space that I have for the time being since we're focusing on this. So this top area with the right corner, I can maximize the screen over here, and now I can see the option chain in full view. Now, once we have it in full view, just to take everyone through it, what you're going to see in the section of the option chain, the upper half, is the underlying information. So you can see for Apple, we have the underlying information, the stock price, its current change, and some other information that you might want to look at in terms of sizing, the high and low prices, the 52-week high volume. but perhaps one that traders or option traders might be more keen on learning or viewing is right over here where we have the mini chart. Now, one of the things on the mini chart, you'll see this is the price chart itself, but I can actually go to the toggle view here and switch it to HV and IV. That stands for historical volatility and implied volatility over here. Now, this is a measure that traders would often look at because volatility has a direct impact on option prices. Typically, when volatility expands, you would see prices rising in options. And when volatility contracts, you would see prices falling. So this is important because traders want to be able to strategize when there's opportunities for either volatility that's risen up and is due to contract, or vice versa, when it's contracted and is due to rise and take advantage of that. Now, you can also go through the different time selectors right beside it here, so you can view it under different time frames, depending on the outlook that you have in the time frame or duration that you want your strategy for. So now moving down over here, going to the option chain itself, you can see that the default one will open to the near term or the nearest expiry right now at the moment, which is for this week. You see all of the option is listed that's available on the markets here. You do have the ability to customize the display of the option expiries themselves. So you can come over to series and you can say, well, do I want to see all of them? Do I trade weeklies? Perhaps if you're not a trader of weekly options, we can just uncheck this and just have the monthlies showing up. And vice versa, you can also do that for the monthlies and if there's any quarterlies applicable for that particular security. Now, for our intents and purposes, we're just going to focus on the monthlies. So for the time being, I've just turned off the weekly, but we'll keep it on just so that everyone does see it. It is in view. You'll also notice that when you do look at the expirations over here, that they are labeled. So it tells you the expiration date, the number of days till it expires, and of course, whether it's a weekly, monthly, or a quarterly in some instances. Now, moving on from there, you have the strike selector. So let's say we are, for example, interested in the monthlies in April. I'm just going to expand this option chain. You'll notice that right now we currently only see 8 strikes. So that's 4 in the money options and then 4 out of the money ones. So I can adjust this by going to the strike selector here. You can use one of the presets that are given, or you can go into the editor right here and type in a specific number of strikes that you may want to see. So in our case, let's say we want to see, let's say 24, and we can just type that in, hit enter, and as soon as you do that, it'll tell you it's 24 strikes we've selected, and we're viewing those now on the options chain. You'll notice also the options chain does get sort of color coded to indicate which is in the money strikes and which are the ones that are out of the money. So you can see these in our current view that we have, these are shaded in this sort of dark or bluish turquoise color. These are representative of all the strikes that are in the money right up until this point. And then anything beyond that, of course, these are going to be all of the out of the money options. This again is the call side we're looking at. It's going to be sort of the opposite on the put side of the option chain when you're looking at that. These were all the in the money options, and these are all of the out of the money ones there that we have. Now, the other thing that we want to look at is when you're trading, you might want to see different sets of data on the option chain. For example, you can see currently that we have our view set to volume. We're seeing volume on the chain. We're seeing open interest, the price, change, the bid and ask. Now, you can come up to the view here and you can toggle through these preset views that are provided already as part of the platform. So for example, if I load up the Greeks, we'll see the Greek-related data, delta, gamma, theta, rho, etc. And in similar fashion, you'll go to intrinsic and extrinsic value. If we switch over to that, you can see this in extrinsic and intrinsic along with the price that it's displayed with as well. And then finally, of course, you have the probability numbers, which is where you will see the probability in the money, the probability out of the money, and then anything with probability of touching. And then, of course, the last thing to round up is the theoretical value. And let's spend some time on this one. What is the theoretical view? Well, the theoretical view shows you a couple of things here. So the two data columns it's going to show you is something called the theo price and implied volatility. So what exactly is the theo price? Well, you'll notice when I selected that view, what it had done was it opened this section, which allows me to adjust some of these variables, such as the stock price, the implied volatility, and also a target date or the date. Now, these are factors that influence the price of an option. So an option trader may want to sort of forecast and say to themselves, if something were to happen in terms of the underlying moving a certain direction, if we were to fast forward in time, how is that going to impact the price of my option? So the way you can do that is, first, you have to uncheck the streaming box. Once you do that, it will open up these additional fields for us. So in our case, let's say that we are looking at the 170 strike on Apple. All right, we're looking at the monthlies for April, and currently you can see the bid ask is showing as 685 versus 695 at the moment. So in our thesis, if we were to say if Apple were to rise, let's say to $180, I'm going to put in $180. I'm going to say as well that there's no major change, there will no huge impact on volatility. We'll ignore volatility for a moment. And we're going to say, our thesis might say that the 180 price, we hope to achieve that or get to that 180 price, let's say by the 22nd of March. All right, so let me select this for a moment. Now, once you do this, so our inputs are saying we're fast forwarding time. Apple, the underlying has moved up to 180 from its current price, so roughly about $8 from where it is right now. And next I got to do is just hit apply over here. Now, once I hit apply, what you'll notice is the Theo price tells you if this were to play out just the way that we hoped, the option value would be worth $11.49. All right, so from its current point, it's at 660, 670. So this is useful for traders because it also helps them decide on certain targets that they may want to set for themselves if the stock hits certain points at certain times. It also will help them decide on potential stops that they may want to set to protect against the downside risk if the thesis doesn't play out the way that they want it to. So in this way, you are able to adjust these factors along with the implied volatility, along with the target date, using the theoretical view. Now, besides, we've gone through the presets that are given to us. A trader may ask, well, what if I want to kind of intermix some of these values and create my own view? Well, you certainly can create your own custom view. Now, to do that, we're going to head over up to this menu, this hamburger menu right over here, and we're going to go to where it says Manage Templates. So let's click on Manage Templates for a moment here. Now you'll notice that we have the presets given right up at the top, and we have the ability to create our own view. So let me create new over here, and I'm just going to call this custom view, and we'll hit save. Now you have the menu card that's located off to the left to add over to the right that you want as part of that view. So in our case, let's say we want to add in the day high and low. So we'll just double click it to add it and throw it over to the right side. So we've got those. And then maybe also I want to add in the mark price, which is usually referred to as the mid as well. So we'll double click this and throw that in. Now you can also sort the order based on where you want it to land up. So maybe I want the mark beside the bid and ask, preferably. So I can put it right there and then have the day and high low next to each other there. Now I'm going to keep it simple just to 3. Of course, you can add as many different fields from here as you wish in this single view. But we're going to go ahead and then just close out of it. There's no extra step to save it. It will automatically save for you. So let's go ahead and close out. Now, if I go back to my view selector right over here, you can see there's the new view that we just labeled called custom. And if we load up custom, you'll notice that it says mark. It has the day high, the day low there, and then of course our bid and ask. So in this way, you are able to create a number of different views. You can cycle through them. Like it could be custom 1, custom 2, 3, etc. with different data that you might want to kind of mix in as part of your analytics there. All right, so that's a look at setting up the options chain here. Now, let's show you another tool that's available as well as part of this, this widget, and that's the options chain graph. So let's go ahead and click on that and show and reveal what that shows us. So within the options chain graph, what this tool is, it helps traders compare across different expiries these variables that usually impact the price of an option or influence the price of an option. So the way this is laid out at the moment is you've got this 4-quadrant setup. You've got calls on this left side, top and bottom, and you've got puts on this right side at the top and bottom. Now you can choose to analyze them both at the same time if you wish to do so, but if you don't, you can come to where it says view, and you can say, well, listen, I just want to look at just calls, or perhaps I just want to look at puts. So let's keep our conversation simple here, and for our demonstration, we're just going to focus on just the calls as our example here. So once you're over here, you'll notice that there is different metrics you can call up within each section. So for the top half, for example, right now, we're looking at open interest. It's measured across all of these different expiries at the moment. And you'll see that where the highest open interest might be, you might say, for example, if we come right over here, is the 15 March's expiry, the monthlies that has the highest open interest, and it gives you the value as you hover over it there. So in this way, you can toggle and get a quick glance to see where the biggest open interest is. If I pull down this menu, we can see where the highest volume traded is happening at the moment. And again, for good reason, as to the near-term expiries, kind of at the money options right now. You can look at the Greek metrics. So you can call up a few different ones here. Now, the two split views just allow you to look at two different things. So maybe I want to look at open interest at the top, and on the bottom one, I want to look at, let's say, the volume. Okay, so I can switch between these two views or look at both of these views at the same time. I can also make it and ensure if I want to see extrinsic value, where's the highest extrinsic value showing on which of the options strikes, I can also have that displayed. So you are able to sort of tweak this and view it in a number of different ways and call it up at a quick switch from the chain over to the options chain graph there. All right, so that is a look at some of the analytic tools that we just covered on the options chain. We're going to head back and activate our options chain one more time over here. And now we're going to go ahead and look at placing options trades. We're going to be showing both single leg option trades as well as how you can place multi-leg option trades over here. Now, keep in mind when we are for the multi-leg point, when we do get to it, that multi-leg option trades would only be applicable to US-based securities. So anything, if you're trying to trade Canadian-based securities as a multi-leg, those will not be able to done online. Those trades will have to be phoned in if you're looking to place Canadian multi-leg trades. So let's start with single leg to begin with. We've called up Apple as our first example, and we're going to look at a single leg trade. They could be anything from buying a call, buying a put, selling a call, selling a put as an example. We're going to keep ours as just a simple buying a call for those who are more risk averse on a risk profile standpoint. So we've still got our 19th April, as our monthly choice that we're looking at. And you are going to want to place a trade on an option. So the way to do it is, again, right off the option chain is one avenue you can do it through. And it's simply a matter of clicking either the bid or the ask when you're doing this. So usually clicking the bid would imply a sell. And you can see as I hover over it, it says it's indicated in red, which should trigger a sell order. And if we click on the bid, it's indicated in green, which would signal a buy order. So let's say we're looking at the strike just out of the money, which is the 175, and I just click on the asking price over here. You're going to notice there's a floating order entry tool that opens up here. Now, this is one of the beauties of the Advanced Dashboard platform because you can really be on any screen. You can see if I toggle into a different workspace over here, I still have my order entry tool still available to me. So you are able to kind of live on any screen that you really want to, but still be able to place a trade from there. So focusing in on our actual trade itself, what you want to make sure is ensure that you're in the correct account. And I'll give you an example. We are on the margin account, but if I were to, let's say, switch it over to a cash account, you might get an alert message over here that says this account is not eligible for this type of order. Please select a different account. So usually when you get this type of warning, either the strategy that you're putting on doesn't work for this account, or you may not have options approval. Now keep in mind, traders, when you are trading, you do need to have options approval to be able to place trades. They're not just available out of the box when you open the account. So ensure that. And there are also going to be different levels depending on the type of strategies that you do undertake. So you do also want to ensure that you do have the correct level based on the strategies that you are looking to execute. So let's go ahead and switch back to our margin account over here. And we're going to switch it to our US margin account since this is a US security that we're working with Apple. So now you can see that when I call this up, that there's a few indicators on this order entry. First of all, it tells me that I have this H symbol tells me that I have a holding. And if I click on it, it tells me, well, I got 50 shares currently on there. And then if I click on this, there's some open orders that are also sitting on there. So these are what those indicators show us. Now, Apple is switched to OPT, which stands for option. If you click on this selection, you can, if you're trying to do a manual input, you can switch out of it, or switch into an option trade, I should say rather. And we'll show you how to do the manual order entry a little bit later in our video today. So let's continue on. You can see everything's pulled up and set up the way we exactly want it. We're doing a buy to open. My default now is set to 5 contracts. Now here, traders, you have the ability to change your defaults. Now, one way you can do that is in the order entry, there's a gear icon located in the top right. You can click on that. That will bring up the order entry tool there. Now you can see we can switch it over to the options one. And once we're on options over here, we can adjust the order entry. Now, let's say I don't want to do 5 as my default, and I rather just have 1 contract and then be able to adjust it myself. That's what you simply do. You can also adjust the buy. What happens when you click on the buy and when you click on the bid or the ask. Now, in a moment ago, I demonstrated whenever I clicked on the ask, it set up as a buy, and whenever I clicked on the bid, it set it up as a sell. But you can flip that order around if you wish to do so. Amongst that, you do have those other parameters that you can adjust, such as the increments when you're putting the quantity in, as well as the price increments that are available to you. So once you make these inputs, it will automatically save it for you. You don't need to do any further clicks. We can just click off of this page here, and we'll continue just proceeding in our example here with the 5 contracts. Now you have the bid and ask still displayed over here as well. You can see this live on what the option's trading for, and you can make any final adjustments. Let's say we're going to do an order just to a little bit lower than the market right now, and show you and send that order through. So once we execute this, we're going to hit the preview screen. On the preview screen, it'll tell us, hey, we're looking to buy to open this order. $3 will give us the confirmation will tell us the total cost, the commissions that's applicable for the trade, and the estimated total, and which account it's going to be triggered in, and what the buying power would be on this account if since it's a margin account there. We're going to actually go ahead and submit this order. So let's go ahead and send that order through, and off it goes. And we'll come back to it and monitor it in just a moment's time. So that is just a simple way of doing a single leg options order there, folks. Now, if we continue on, let's move into our multi-leg option orders here now. Now, if we wanted to do multi-leg option orders, what we're going to first do is we're going to switch. There's a little toggle switch over here, which is currently set to single leg. I'm going to move it over to multi-leg over here. Now, once you do that, what it does is it opens this extra area over here. Now, we haven't selected anything yet. So for the time being, I'm just going to go ahead and close this. Now, in the multi-leg, we're going to work through a few different examples. We're going to do the most typical one that traders might do on a multi-leg, and that's a buy right order, where you're buying the stock and then simultaneously selling a call option. We'll also look at doing a spread order, and we'll also demonstrate a straddle that you're able to do. Now, keep in mind when we are discussing multi-leg orders, the platform and any platform here at TD allows you to do up to two-legged option orders when you're using the multi-leg function. So let's go ahead and start with our first one, which is the buy right. All right, so we've got Apple again. We want to be able to first buy the stock or set that up as our initial order. And then the second part of that order will be selling the call. So first and foremost, you can see the pricing on the underlying is here. That's what I'm going to go to here first. I'm going to click on buy. Let's click on buy here. You can see it sets it up in this and the bottom section over here where our multi-leg is. Currently, we're set to buy 100 shares of Apple. Now, I'm going to hover down and go over to where we see our options chain. Now, again, you can choose the expiry. So maybe I'm going to go a little bit further out in this one. Let's say we're going to go out to the monthlies out in May. Give us a bit more time here. And maybe if I'm mildly bullish, I might want to go a little further out on the strikes versus a little further in. So in this case, I'm going to say, look, I think that that 190 level is kind of where I think Apple could potentially go to, and where I'm happy to, if I do get assigned where the shares might be taken away at that price, I'll be happy at getting those sold there. So let's go ahead and click on the bid over here. And now you can see we've got the multi-leg set up here, 100 shares to correspond with one contract that we're selling. Now, there's a little accordion pane view that you can expand here, because what this will demonstrate to us is the risk profile graph, which is pretty handy to have over here. So it will show you if there's any break-even prices and at what point you would start losing on this trade, and what point you are going to be making a profit, of course. you'll see that the trade is netted out with the price. So if the current price of Apple is that 171 or let's 171.20, and for the 190 call that we had on there, we're selling it for roughly, let's just call it 180. It's netting the price out to say that the total order cost will be 169.41 and change. Now you'll notice that you can adjust the order or the price parameter here as well if you need to, and you'll also have the scale for the mid and natural price here if you do need to make a tweak to that. You'll notice this trade is set to DR, which stands for debit trade, which means we're going to be paying for this trade. You can alternatively also mark this as a market order. Now, if you put a market, it's going to take away the price information. Now, again, a caution to traders, if you're putting a market, you could experience price slippage. So do proceed with that with some degree of caution if you're deciding to select market order there. We're going to turn off the market. I'm going to go ahead and create order. Now, once we create our order, you'll notice that, again, we've got our default account that we want our option trades to go through right over here. We've got the strategy set up where we're doing a covered, right? So we're buying 100 shares and we're selling to open covered one contract of Apple at 190 strike with this price. Now I can say, maybe I want to try and hold out for a little bit of a lower price. We're going to just have these orders in open view. So we're going to put a limit price of 165. We'll keep it just for a day order there. So let's go ahead and hit preview order here. It'll give us a summary of this order screen, just as it is. Now, keep in mind that when you put this order, you do want to pay attention to if there are any warnings presented. You can see in this one that's presented, it says this could be a duplicate order. Please review order status to confirm if you want to continue to place this order. The request will be reviewed before fulfillment, okay? So just giving us a warning saying that there seems to be another duplicate order, but we're still gonna go ahead and proceed with it and submit the order. It still will accept the order. So that's what we just covered with, was just a buy right. Now, since we had that warning, let's go back to our monitor page over here where we're going to see our order status. And we're going to switch to order status just to see what's happening. Now, you can see I've loaded it up onto all accounts right now, so I see a total view of it. And what we have over here is a mild warning that was telling us we had something similar, but it wasn't the exact same thing. And you could see here that we do have another order to buy Apple 175 over here, 5 contracts, which is a different order completely from the one we just did, which was the strategy on that buy right there. So we're all good. You can see if the order does get executed, you will see the status node show up over here, and some other information you can scroll across to monitor the order and the filled price at what it came in with. Okay, so let's go back to our options chain over here. All right, we're going to continue on with our multi-legs. We're going to do the spreads now. Now we're going to be using debit spreads as our demonstration. You could do the credit spreads just the same way. So let's go ahead and clear all of this out. So we're going to clear the X's out. So we've got this removed, and let's come back to it. Now I'm going to change the symbols up here a little bit. So let's just see what we have. Let's load up Meta in this case. So we've got Meta loaded up. I'm going to just minimize my watch list again. And now with Meta's price, a trader may want to embark on doing a spread, especially if you're looking to speculate on the price upwards or downwards movement of Meta. A spread would be something that would be a consideration for traders, since it does offer better prices, because not only are you're buying the contract, but you're also selling another one, which is going to help you offset some of the costs that you might have associated with when you're going net long on that trade. So let's say in this case, we're going to be putting on a put spread. We're going to do a debit put spread, also known as a bear put spread. Maybe we're speculating that Meta has reached its tops of the price, and we think that there's going to be a little correction coming in the ways of Meta over the next month or so here. So once we have this queued up, again, we're on the near-term expiry. Just make sure you do keep an eye on that, and we're going to go a little bit further out. Let's say we're going to call up the May monthlies over here. Now, what I want to do is I want to choose my strikes. I'm going to choose one that's kind of right at the money. So in this case, we're going to do the 505. I'm going to choose to buy the 505 put over here first. Now, when you're doing a spread, you can decide for yourself how much of a spread you want to take on it based on either how much you want to speculate the price going down with, and also that's going to impact how much the cost is going to offset based on what you're going to be selling. So let's say we're willing to do a 10-point spread in our case over here. So we're going to look at the 495 strike and sell that, and by clicking the bid. So now you can see what we have is it labels it. It tells us this is a bear put spread that we've got on. We're buying the 505 put and selling the 495 put. Let's expand this and see our risk profile graph here to get a sense of where our break-even price is and what we need to look at. Now, you'll notice that the key metrics are also provided to us over here. So it gives us a lot of that, it calculates that information for us. It tells us the max profit we could make on this trade with one contract is $505. We stand to lose $490 as it is right now because the debit at the moment is $4.90, which is what we're going to be paying as it is. Our break-even price is $500.05. So that means in this case, we need Meta to drop down to at least $500.05 before we start running into a profit zone. And then if it reaches that 495 level right over here, that's when we make a full profit over. That's when we'll realize the max profit as part of this trade that we're putting on there. So this is a neat tool as well for traders to really do those analytics when you're looking at risk assessment or when you're putting on these trades over here. You'll also see the net effect of the Greeks if you do follow the option Greeks and seeing how that is going to impact you as the underlying is moving. So you'll have values on what the net delta effect is, the net theta effect, the vega, and the rho, of course. Now you can adjust the price one more time here. You have the mid and natural price also displayed to us here. Remember the mid price, again, as a reminder for option traders, this represents the average between the bid and ask on both of those legs. So the average between the bid ask on the 505 put, as well as the average between the 495, and it comes up with this price. You'll notice that the mid is a better price because if we're buying it, you're buying it for a lower price at 453 versus the natural price right now, which is simply taking the ask and the bid, which is at 485 at the moment. So you can adjust it, and there's a slider here that you can just move to make that adjustment as well, should you desire to do so. I'm just going to close this for a second, and I'll just demonstrate if we needed to move this over here, we can do that, and you can simply do that, or you can just simply type the price. We're going to try and do it for the mid, which is what is displayed at. I'm going to hit create order. Again, this is just telling you if you need to make any additional changes from what we have. If we're happy with everything, we can go ahead and hit preview order and send that order off. One more time, it'll give us a summary of the cost and any additional requirements that are there for buying power. And then we can go ahead and submit this order. And off it is. So that's just an example of what we did with a spread order and the way you would set it up there. If you wanted to unwind it, you'd kind of do just the opposite of that. So let's say we bought this spread. If we wanted to close it out, well, you would just flip the order here to say this one will become a sell to close and this one will become a buy to close. All right. So it's just the inverse of that when you're selecting to close out that option trade once you've got that order filled. Now let's look at one more example where we want to do is a straddle. So let's close these out. So if a trader wants to participate in volatility, so if they're either expecting major volatility on a stock, so it's either going to go, and remember, volatility just signals to us there's a big move that's going to happen on the underlying, but we don't know directionally whether it's going to either go up or down. So in other words, there are strategies where if you're directionally agnostic, you may want to look at some volatility strategies, and one of them is the straddle. So in this case, we're still going to keep on with our meta example here. And I'm going to reduce my expiration. I'm going to go to the Aprils over here. So straddle is in a trade in one in which you buy the same strike price on the call as well as the put if we're taking the long view here. So let's take a look at this example. Let's say we want to do it right pretty much at the money on the 505 right here. So I'm going to choose to buy the 505 over here. We'll click the bid there and the ask, and we'll click the ask on the put side of it there. So you can see it sets it up as a long straddle up for us here. We're buying the exact same strike price on both the call and put. Now, if we were to just expand this view here, it'll give us some of our metrics that we need to look at. Now, keep in mind when you're looking at the key metrics over here that there isn't, in fact, a max gain calculable, because whenever you're going a single leg call option, in theory, it's unlimited profit potential there. So you do have these values that are derived to you that gives you the break-even prices on the high and low side of it. So whether it goes up, what does it need to go up by to be able to make a profit? And if it's going to go down, what does it need to go down by to make a profit? So you can see on the downside, 460 is our number. It needs to either get down to or 549. Okay, so these are these big moves. Really, traders look at this when there's big upcoming news that might be happening, earnings especially. A lot of traders might want to use this strategy to participate there. Let's hit create order over here. You can see our familiar order entry screen again that we used to. You can make any changes or adjustments to the price at this point if you need to do so. We'll hit preview to send this order through. It'll give you a summary again of the cost, the commission, as well as the buying power, which is located at the top for this trade. And we can go ahead and hit submit order on this one as well. All right, so now we've got all our orders submitted over. Before we round up on the analytics, the last piece that we want to look at, let's clear this out for a second. We're going to take everyone back to the original view over here. Let's minimize this and get us back where we had our chart. One of the things that also traders might want to look at if they're in a position or if they wanted to see how a certain option price has behaved is to map it on the charts. And this is one of the reasons why earlier on when we were setting it up that I had set up my configuration for my option chain to be set to both send and receive. Because what I want to do now is I want to be able to say, if I just put this trade on this 505, I want to be able to see how this price has, traded in the past. So I can go ahead and click one of these values that you see on the data columns on your option chain, except for the bid or ask, any of these other ones. So let's just say I click on this. You'll notice what happens on the other side of the chart. Let's expand this now, that it has loaded up that specific option, Meta April strike that we chosen, 505 call. And you can see right now we're looking at a 1 minute chart on it. We can go back and say, well, let's look at a 1 hour chart on this instead. And you can see where across the span of time, how this option has traded over time and how much it's risen and what kind of the volatility might indicate to us. Now, if you're into technical analysis, you can of course overlay this with different studies and indicators there as well to do further analysis on these prices, or trying to figure out where's the price that you may want to execute either your exit or entries as well if you're trying to time this. So this is one of the ways you can do that. And keep in mind, folks, all I did was I just synced it up. Now you do have the ability to just manually type in the symbol as well. You can see in the symbol box, this is the way that it would be typed in. So you can just type it in this nomenclature, that the way that they have it. All right, let's close this up for a second. And just to round up our session or our video for today, we're going to go back to our monitor page again here. Don't forget that under this order status that we have, this is where you'll be able to monitor your trades. Of course, they'll be all grouped as strategy. You can see it says this is a strategy order that we've placed over here. And you can simply come here and reverse this order. So let's say we bought this order, it was filled. I can come here and simply click reverse, and it's going to set up the opposite order for me if I need to close that trade out there. All right, so you're going to always see a history of these orders. Now, right now, we're only seeing our orders for the entire time. But if you look at it just for today's orders, this can just parse it out for just the orders we've made today on the system there. And one more thing before we end the video here, we're going to be looking at how you can place a manual trade. So let's just say I'm on the order status and I just click reverse just to bring it up. I'm just demonstrating to bring up the order entry tool, which can be brought up a number of different ways. But what we're going to do is, let's say we want to put an option trade on Amazon. So let's go and adjust the symbol here and load up Amazon's ticker. Throw that in here. Now you'll notice, first things first, you have this drop-down menu which allows you to choose what type of order you're placing, whether that be a stock. If you choose option, for example, this is just going to be doing for a single leg trade. If we go to strategy, this is where the multi-legs are. And when you open up strategy, it gives you a whole slew of different choices that you can pick from over here. One of the ones we'll just show you, for example, if you want to do a covered call, it already loads up the default quantity of one contract, which is what we've defined as 100 shares. I can adjust the contracts here, and that's what's going to adjust the shares over here. You can see when it's picked to a certain strategy, only one of the fields will be kind of editable, and the other one will be locked in and kind of follow along with that. So now from here, I can just go and choose from here. If I already know that I want to look for the April 19th, I can say, for example, maybe I want to look for the 190, selling the 190 strike on the Amazon. It gives me the pricing right over here, the mid, the natural indicator right here, and I can go ahead and input the prices that I want. So let's just say we're trying to get this for just 172, just below what the current mid is at the moment, and then submit the order and send it off there. And we're not going to send it off for this demonstration. I did want to show one other thing. If you do want to, and you'll see there's a number of these strategies that you can put on that are going to be set for you if you want to do ratio spreads, but you can also do a custom one here if you wanted to. When you choose the custom option, it will allow you to edit all of the fields you want and just place and essentially do just do all the inputs yourself rather than having some inputs that are already defined for you as part of these strategies there. All right, traders, and that's a wrap at trading options in the advanced dashboard platform. So just to summarize, we looked at how to set up your workspace for options trading as we did over here. Keep in mind, you can set it up in whichever way that is going to suit you to make your trading comfortable. We then looked at how to adjust some of those settings that we had, synchronizing those features. And then, of course, we placed a number of trades, including single leg and multi-leg trades. Now, if you wanted to see more videos like this, please be sure to check out the rest of the Advanced Dashboard Masterclass series.